Hello, my name is Joseph Nunes. I am a professor of marketing at USC's Marshall School of Business. I am going to talk to you today about authenticity. More specifically, I am going to ask what makes a consumption experience authentic. I want my Thai food and my craft beer to be authentic. My wife wants her designer shoes and her yoga classes to be authentic. We both want to believe the ice cream we buy that stands for something is authentic. And we would be horribly disappointed if that film about how an English mathematician cracked Germany's secret code during World War II wasn't authentic. And right now, I am dreaming of vacationing at an authentic island resort. But what exactly does it mean to be authentic? To me, authenticity means my local Thai restaurant makes food that tastes like it does in Thailand. But what about my craft beer? What makes it authentic? Or my wife's yoga classes and her designer shoes? Does authenticity mean the same thing for socially conscious ice cream, historic dramas, and island resorts? In my research, my colleagues and I uncovered 63 different definitions of authenticity being used by researchers in marketing, management, psychology, anthropology, and other fields. These definitions all refer to experiences with products and services, brands and employees. This is a real problem for marketers. How can you ensure your customers consider your offering authentic when it is so difficult to nail down what authenticity really means? In my research, my colleagues and I set out to reconceptualize authenticity. We wanted to provide a single definition that offers a cohesive, comprehensive understanding of what it means for a consumption experience to be authentic. One definition that marketers could turn to when thinking about how to deliver consumers an authentic experience for their own products and services. To accomplish this, we needed to understand how consumers themselves thought about authenticity. This meant going out and speaking directly with consumers. We went about this in several different ways. First, we conducted a series of in-depth one-on-one interviews. The topic? We chose music. This is because claims of authenticity play a major role in how music is marketed. And our sense was what we would learn about authenticity in music would generalize across a wide range of consumption experiences. 30 individuals were pre-screened to ensure an interest in music. Each participant provided us with the names of 5 familiar musical artists. This gave us a range of artists to work with. Of the 150 artists provided, 126 were unique. They ranged from Radiohead to Rihanna, and from Mozart to Migos and Michael Jackson. We asked our interviewees to identify features of their favorite artists that were important to them. Each and every one spontaneously brought up authenticity. This reassured us music was a good domain in which to study this topic. During our interviews, we chose different combinations of 3 artists from the 5 they provided, and we asked participants how one of the 3 was different from the other 2 in terms of authenticity. This prompted participants to provide qualifiers, such as, "This artist follows their own style." These statements were used to create a list of 5-point scales with opposing poles. One scale, for example, was anchored by "follows their own style" at one end and "follows current trends" at the other. Each participant ended up creating a list of scales they would use to judge authenticity. Using these same scales, we asked participants to rate 5 common artists that we selected. These included Beyonce, Pink, Katy Perry, Justin Bieber, and Enrique Iglesias. These artists had been tested beforehand to ensure they differed in terms of authenticity. Altogether, we collected 225 scale items. We eliminated redundancies and then looked for themes in what remained. Here's one example. We grouped items such as unique in style and completely different from other artists, along with not following trends and having the ability to create something new, all under the theme of originality. Ultimately, we identified 6 distinct themes. Originality was the first theme. Here are the other 5. Number 2, the artist engages with fans, and the consumer feels like they have a relationship with the artist and their music. This theme we call connectedness. Number 3, the artist writes their own songs and also composes the music. This is the theme we call proficiency. Number 4, authentic artists are passionate about what they do. They make their own choices, and they do not write music only to hit the charts. This is the theme we call integrity. Number 5, they maintain a certain style and have respect for traditions and styles of a certain genre. This theme we call legitimacy. And number 6, our final theme. Authentic artists talk about what they've really experienced in life, are super truthful and direct, and not prepackaged. This theme we call accuracy. Worth noting, the nearly 120 descriptions participants provided all fit squarely into one of these 6 themes. Also, it is important to highlight that each person we spoke with brought up multiple themes. This is a breakthrough because it means authenticity does not depend on one single type of judgment. Instead, determining whether something is authentic or not depends on a set of distinct judgments. But how can we test whether these dimensions are truly distinct, as well as whether all 6 dimensions really matter? Recall our participants rated a set of 5 artists we knew ahead of time differed in terms of perceived authenticity. The data allow us to compare these artists along these 6 dimensions. All 6 types of judgments matter, but different themes matter differently for different artists. Here's one example. Beyonce and Pink were both considered highly authentic, consistent with what we knew beforehand. However, Beyonce is considered authentic primarily due to having integrity and the fact her fans feel deeply connected to her. Pink is considered authentic primarily due to her originality. What became clear is consumers make a number of distinct judgments, such as, does this artist have integrity? Do I feel connected to this artist? Is this artist original? And it is a combination of these judgments that jointly determines whether consumers consider an artist and their music more or less authentic. These interviews laid the groundwork for understanding authenticity by helping us identify the 6 types of judgments consumers make when making appraisals of authenticity. To ensure the generalizability of these results across consumers and across different types of products and services, we conducted a nationally representative survey. We divided consumption experiences into 2 basic classes, products and services. Products differ from services in a number of ways. Products tend to be more tangible, to last longer, and the experience tends to be more uniform. Another difference we considered is between products and services whose main benefit is delivering pleasure, or they are hedonic. Think craft beers and movies. And those products that are more utilitarian or functional. Think laundry detergent and banking services. Additionally, some products last much longer than others. Think of the difference between a sports car and a craft beer. This is what marketers refer to as the distinction between durable goods and consumables. With respect to services, some services require more consumer participation to get the most out of the experience, and some require less. Think banking services versus, say, Metro Ride. This is what researchers call consumer co-production. We asked consumers to tell us, in their own words, what made each of these different types of products and services more or less authentic. More than 1,000 respondents provided about 1,500 descriptions of what made for highly authentic experiences. And lo and behold, the same 6 types of judgments came up again and again. And individuals often raised more than one type of judgment. Is it original? Is it legitimate? Do I feel connected? This meant our in-depth interviews succeeded in identifying the types of judgments consumers make. What stood out here was that while consumers made multiple judgments, the importance of each type of judgment varied across the different products and services. We'll come back to this point a little later. Before getting to that, I should tell you that we ran another study that allowed consumers to generate their own experiences and describe what made each one authentic. For the nearly 200 experiences they came up with, from software to car parts, French fries to whiskey, The same 6 types of judgments appeared. This is a good time to pause and take stock of what each of these judgments means. Consider the judgment of originality. Consumers describe authentic experiences as those judged to be unique, different from the crowd, and new and different. Judgments of originality, then, as it pertains to authenticity, refer to the extent to which a product or service stands out from mainstream offerings already in the market, and the extent to which they do so without any unnecessary embellishments. Next, consider the judgment of legitimacy. Consumers said things such as, I would look at safety standards, whether the producer uses all traditional methods, and whether it contains key ingredients. Judgments of legitimacy refer to the extent to which a product or service adheres to shared norms, standards, rules, or traditions. These 2 judgments, originality and legitimacy, focus on the output of a manufacturer or service provider. Legitimacy focuses on conformity, while originality focuses on nonconformity. So you can see how there can be a tension here. This is why it is important to allow the 6 judgments we identify to have independent effects. Each one affects the consumer's assessment of authenticity, positively or negatively, with some mattering more than others, depending on the context. Now consider the judgment of accuracy. Consumers describe an authentic experience as delivering on all of its claims and getting what you're expecting with no surprises. A judgment of accuracy as it pertains to authenticity, therefore, refers to the extent to which a provider is perceived as transparent in how it represents itself. This judgment has its historical roots in philosophy, with the French philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau arguing that to be authentic, one must be transparent. His interpretation doesn't only apply to people, but to products and services as well. It is critical that we distinguish between being true to others, with judgments of accuracy, and being true to oneself, which is captured in judgments of integrity. Consumers describe integrity in terms of a source being free to make its own choices, not selling out, and being passionate. A judgment of integrity has direct ties to the origins of the word authenticity. The Greek word authentio is often translated as to have full power, or acting on one's own authority, in the sense of autonomy. This interpretation is the basis for what many self-help gurus, think Dr. Phil, mean when they talk about defining your authentic self. Consumer judgments of integrity refer to whether a product or service provider is perceived as being intrinsically motivated, not simply doing it for the money, while also acting independently and consistently over time. Judgments of accuracy and integrity are about how the source of a product or service behaves. This is the case for the judgment of proficiency as well. Here, consumers are looking for quality production, employee know-how, craftsmanship, and mastery. Finally, the judgment of connectedness, which describes, well, just that, consumers' feelings of being connected to the source. Consumers describe having a relationship with the source, and sometimes even experiencing feelings of transcendence. A judgment of connectedness, therefore, refers to consumers feeling engaged and sometimes even feeling transformed. Now, here is where the findings of our research get a bit radical. In a separate study, we examined whether and how these judgments vary systematically in different contexts. I'll give you a few examples. We found judgments of proficiency matter more for hedonic products, like chocolate and gaming consoles, than for utilitarian products, like toilet paper and washing machines. It seems skill, expertise, and craftsmanship matter more when the experience involves the senses and involves pleasure. We also found judgments of legitimacy matter more for utilitarian products and don't really matter for hedonic products. It seems adhering to standards really matters when the product is instrumental and intended to help the consumer reach a practical goal. Those are just a few ways in which our results offer a preliminary roadmap to marketers about the specific levers they might pull to enhance the authenticity of their offerings. I should also mention that in the same study, We find the 6 judgments affect consumer behavior: their willingness to seek out more information about a product or service, their intention to purchase a particular offering, and the likelihood of them sharing information via word of mouth. To close, I'd like to turn back to some of the examples I mentioned at the beginning of this talk. Recall I said authentic Thai food tastes like it comes from Thailand. This is a judgment of legitimacy. Craft beer should be produced by expert brewers who possess the requisite skills. This is a judgment of proficiency. Authentic designer shoes should not be mainstream. They should set the wearer apart from the crowd. This is a judgment of originality. In an authentic yoga class, students should feel connected to the instructor and perhaps even a feeling of transcendence. This is a judgment of connectedness. And an authentic ice cream producer should pay farmers a fair wage for the best ingredients and not focus squarely on profits. This is a judgment of integrity. And that historic drama must be truthful in its storytelling. This is a judgment of accuracy. There they are, all 6 of our judgments. Wait, I almost forgot something. That island resort I am dreaming of, to be authentic, that resort should adhere to local norms and traditions. It should be seen as legitimate. The staff should be the best at what they do. They should be proficient. They should seem like they really care about customers and are not just trying to get my money. They should have integrity. The resort should be unique, not cookie cutter or a copy of some other resort. It should be original. And when I get there, it should look like it does on its website and in its ads. It should be accurate. And finally, the resort should really connect with its guests, someone like me who may be transformed by my visit. In this way, all 6 judgments would lead to a truly authentic experience. Well, that's it for my talk today. It's time for me to start looking for that authentic island resort I have been longing for. Stay well and fight on.